From dropping out after seriously injuring someone at an Everclear concert to being a bit too prestigious for lowly cameos, the reasons these actors refused roles in Ben Stiller movies are strangely varied. In 1995, Columbia Pictures paid $750,000 for first-time screenwriter Lou Holtz Jr.'s script for The Cable Guy, a dark comedy about a mysterious TV installer whose friendship with a customer turns obsessive.
I just want to hang out. No big deal.
While Jim Carrey went on to star as the infamous Chip Douglas, the film was originally intended as a vehicle for Chris Farley, then the toast of comedy Hollywood for his work on Saturday Night Live and Tommy Boy.
Oh my God.
According to the AV Club, Farley was on board when Columbia hired creative partners Ben Stiller and Judd Apatow to work on the movie to direct and produce respectively. Apatow heavily reworked the script while Stiller decided to take on the minor double roles of Sam and Stan Sweet, twins on trial obviously guilty of murdering their parents, whose trial airs live on cable TV. The cameras would never roll on Farley as the Cable Guy. After the success of Tommy Boy, Paramount Pictures exercised an option on Farley's contract to make him act in another movie right away, and quickly built the movie Black Sheep around him. That delayed his involvement, as did an agreement that Farley would start on the Cable Guy whenever he left SNL for good. However, the comedian didn't want to say yes to a movie that would film at some nebulous point in the future, so he said no to the film altogether. Although it lasted just one season and aired to dismal ratings, The Ben Stiller Show proved highly influential in that it created lasting creative partnerships among its four main cast members. In the years after the sketch show's cancellation, Ben Stiller frequently cast his co-stars in his directorial projects. Janeane Garofalo starred in Reality Bites, and Bob Odenkirk appeared in The Cable Guy, for example. And when Stiller co-wrote and ultimately directed and starred in the geopolitical meets male modeling farce Zoolander, he did so with the Ben Stiller Show alumnus Andy Dick in mind. Stiller told Esquire, "Andy Dick was supposed to play Mugatu. Now it's impossible for me to picture anybody but Will doing it." Mugatu is the film's villain, a campy and extremely ridiculous fashion industry stalwart who hatches a scheme to brainwash models into killing the Prime Minister of Malaysia, who wants to end the sweatshop labor on which Mugatu's industry relies. Memorably, Will Ferrell played the part in the 2001 film in one of his first major movie roles since becoming a star on Saturday Night Live.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
So what's the reason Dick had to pass on a role written and earmarked for him? Well, he was busy. At the time that Zoolander entered production, Dick was committed to the short-lived NBC sitcom Go Fish, which was then canceled after 5 episodes. However, this didn't stop Dick from showing up for a quick and easy cameo as Olga the masseuse. Dante Terrell Smith, who now goes by Yasiin Bey, burst onto the rap scene in the late 90s under the name Mos Def, both as a solo artist and as half of the duo Black Star with Talib Kweli. He started making music as a kid and acting as a teenager, and the latter dominated the performer's professional life in the 2000s. This included a starring role in the Pulitzer Prize-winning play Top Dog Underdog and big parts in notable flicks including Be Kind Rewind, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and 16 Blocks. Bey also almost starred in Tropic Thunder, a high-concept action comedy co-written and directed by Ben Stiller that follows a band of misfit actors who wander into a real war zone while filming a movie. Stiller and collaborators created the character of Al Pacino, a popular rapper attempting an acting career. Producers approached Bey for the part, since his own career trajectory mirrored that of the character on the page. However, he declined the role because he had objections to the nature of the character as it was written. Bey told The Ecstatic Breakdown, "It was a conflict in how we saw the character. They wanted it to be a rap character. I wanted it to be an R&B character. For me to do a character that was a rap parody, I wasn't exactly hyped to do that." There are a lot of big-name actors in the 2011 heist comedy Tower Heist, a film that follows a bunch of wronged workers who decide to rob their boss after they learn that he has swindled them out of their money via a Ponzi scheme.
We're not criminals. We don't know how to steal.
The movie features an all-star cast, including Ben Stiller, Eddie Murphy, Casey Affleck, Matthew Broderick, Gabourey Sidibe, and Michael Pena. Turns out it also almost starred cinematic icon Robert Redford, a longtime A-lister who took a break from acting in the mid-2000s. After his 2007 drama Lions for Lambs, Redford didn't appear in another film for 5 years, focusing on directing The Conspirator and The Company You Keep, the latter of which also marked his return to acting. Tower Heist was produced and released during that hiatus, and director Brett Ratner approached Redford about playing the role of evil boss and robbery target Arthur Shaw, but he passed. Ratner told Collider, "I think he was finishing his movie or whatever. I don't know exactly what happened." In the end, Alan Alda got the part instead. Indie filmmaker Noah Baumbach frequently grapples with modern relationships, and in his 2014 dramedy, While We're Young, he explores what happens to a solid marriage between two middle-aged people when they meet a cool, hip young couple that make them feel old and stodgy.
I love his shoes. I have some wingtips here somewhere. I stopped wearing them when I got shin splints.
It took nearly 4 years for the film to get made, with IndieWire reporting casting news in 2010 that Stiller was set to star as the male half of the older couple, while Greta Gerwig would play his wife. Gerwig is a frequent collaborator of Baumbach, as well as his romantic partner, so this casting made perfect sense at the time. Pairing Stiller and Gerwig together would have represented a re-teaming of the leads from Baumbach's 2010 movie Greenberg, but it wouldn't come to pass. Gerwig left the film over scheduling issues, ultimately passing the role off to Cate Blanchett, who ended up dropping out as well. When the film debuted in theaters in 2014, it was Naomi Watts who played Stiller's on-screen spouse. The Madagascar films have proven to be a popular and lucrative franchise for DreamWorks Animation, with the 3 flagship films and the Penguins of Madagascar spin-off pulling in more than $2.2 billion at the global box office. They're star-driven as well, with a cast headed up by the recognizable voices of David Schwimmer, Chris Rock, and Ben Stiller, who plays a lion named Alex. Stiller got his big acting break in 1989 when he joined the cast of Saturday Night Live, but he left after 3 episodes at a time in which Dana Carvey dominated the sketch show. Carvey nearly had a leading role in Madagascar 2, which would have represented a big part of a comeback attempt. In the late 1990s, Carvey took an extended break from Hollywood to raise his 2 young children and to recover from a series of heart surgeries. In that time, he passed on 2 voice acting roles in what would be 2 of the most notable animated features of the mid-2000s, Ratatouille and Madagascar. As Carvey told People, "I was very, very busy raising kids at that time." In There's Something About Mary, a movie built around hilarious surprises, perhaps the most unexpected twist comes when Mary reveals that her mysterious ex-boyfriend, referred to only as Brett, is actually Brett Favre, the real-life star quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Favre had won a Super Bowl by the time There's Something About Mary hit theaters, making him probably the most well-known football player on the planet at the time. However, he wasn't co-directors Bobby and Peter Farrelly's #1 choice to play Mary's former flame. Since the Farrellys hail from the Boston-adjacent New England state of Rhode Island, they originally wanted the then quarterback of the New England Patriots, Drew Bledsoe, to do the cameo. While the athlete agreed to do the movie, he dropped out before he actually filmed the scene. This was due to a public incident at the Paradise Rock Club in Boston in which Bledsoe and 2 Patriots teammates leapt from the stage during an Everclear concert. One of them landed on a woman, seriously injuring her. After San Francisco 49ers QB Steve Young turned down the role, the Farrellys asked Favre to do the honors. Ben Stiller's Zoolander is a silly movie, but its 2016 sequel Zoolander 2 is even sillier. Extraordinarily stupid male models Derek and Hansel reunite in Rome and find themselves embroiled in another deadly international conspiracy, which they somehow solve and survive in spite of their staggering lack of intelligence. The standout scenes in the movie involve Hansel's personal life, in which he's in a polyamorous relationship with a relative horde of people, both men and women, all of whom he manages to impregnate.
How is this even possible? We thought you'd be happy.
That arrangement is depicted in a wildly over-the-top, heavily populated group love scene played for laughs, and in his capacity as director, Stiller tried and failed to add a very famous and very unlikely face into the mix, former First Lady of the United States, Laura Bush. He didn't provide Bush or her reps with the details of the part, but she declined anyway. Stiller told NBC's Today,
"And she was so smart to politely say no."
The Zoolander movies are a send-up of the world of high fashion, so Stiller sought out a real-life representative of that subculture, asking designer and Chanel creative chief Karl Lagerfeld to participate. According to Hello, that was absolutely out of the question for Lagerfeld. By the late 1990s, Ben Stiller was known almost exclusively as a comic actor. This changed in 1998 when he branched out into much darker and much more dramatic fare with Permanent Midnight, which tells the true story of Jerry Stahl, a TV sitcom writer, best known for Alf, Moonlighting, and 30-something, who grappled with an addiction to heroin. According to Entertainment Weekly, Stiller prepared extensively and seriously for his dramatic turn, hanging out with Stahl and losing 30 pounds to more effectively get into character. Nonetheless, Stiller wasn't producer's first choice for the part. Another up-and-coming actor of the era, looking to prove that he could do more than what he was known for, landed the lead in Permanent Midnight, the X-Files mainstay David Duchovny. However, he pulled out in order to make the flop, playing God instead.